Evening all, welcome to 24 hours after the madness that was the European Championship final. We are here, me and Robbie, to do a review on the whole tournament rather than just one game. We will reveal the winner of our fantasy league as well as look back at our predictions, which don't look so good now, but thankfully the tournament is over. I mean, for me, it's a relief because we've had so much going on, particularly yesterday, which we'll probably save for another video, I think, when Alexi gets back. It's better we get him to hear his thoughts too. But Robbie, as always, is here. And we followed our respective nations throughout the tournament, all the way up to the points where it did end for both England and Scotland for our prospective hopes. I'm sure, Robbie, you're a proud Scotsman, but even you will say that it will be a tournament you'll remember, as it was the closest thing to a home competition you'll ever have.
I really enjoyed it. We played terrible, but at least we got there, so I'm happy about it. Obviously it'd be quite tough for you. You have way more. Expectations are a lot higher. You've got a better team, obviously, than us. I'd still hold my head high if it was English. However, obviously I'm speaking from a Scottish point of view, and we obviously didn't set the world alight, but I'm happy we made it because we didn't actually make it through the group qualifiers. We made it through the Nations League, and if you look at the Nations League, we actually done relatively well, compared to the other teams that made it through in that format. So, yeah, I'm not too disheartened with what happened. Obviously we drew against England, which was a good result. We needed a win. However, the runners-up did well. Obviously, Czech Republic, as we know, didn't expect them to do well. They're probably one of the dark horses of the tournament. Patrick Schick was absolutely amazing. And, Croatia as well, who are just, they're the World Cup runner-ups. We know exactly what they can do, what they can bring to the table, which really that was one of the group of deaths as well. That and obviously Group F, which was Germany, France and Portugal, which, I absolutely loved every game in that group. Don't know about you, Ahmed, but it was just so end-to-end. Even Hungary put up a fight. Fair play to them. They done their country proud, and probably the hardest group we've ever seen in Euro history.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I think we were thrilled every day through every match that came on. We had drama in, obviously, the group of death, as you mentioned, Robbie. Definitely the 4-2 between Germany and Portugal stands out. And the final night of the group there, too. I think we had a great Group B final night as well. The Denmark-Russia game will stand out for me as one of the games of the tournament for the sheer nature of not only how the Danes handled the evening with the pressure of their own fans, but also it's more or less the circumstances of the night. They needed obviously a win, and there was elements of drama in that game that stand out for me. So, coupled with obviously the fact they had the harrowing circumstances of Christian Eriksen on their minds all the time. They played on, they gave it a right old go. And we said it at the beginning, and we'll look at our predictions later on. We did say that they would be one of those underdog teams that could go far in the tournament, and sure enough, it does look like we've been proven right. In other aspects,
not Turkey though, Ahmed.
Well, Alexi's not here tonight, and we've already ridiculed him right on the group chat about his decision to back Turkey.
Absolutely love that. And I also got Germany right as well. I said Germany will go through, and they won't come third either. They won't scrape a third. So my predictions were actually quite right, and you didn't back that one. You did not back that one.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Someone needs to make sure Robbie's checked for football knowledge next season, just to make sure he's well updated. It was a good all round effort for us. I don't think I predicted as well. I feel like I could have done better. When I did say Italy would go far, I only had hope for England to get knocked out in the last 16, not because I didn't want them to win the competition. Whatever happened with England, it happened. But ultimately,
amazing against Germany though.
It was a great performance. It just seemed like we didn't play the occasion, we played the game. The Germans came with a renewed confidence, assuming that they have had the one over us every time we've played them in tournament football. They looked excited, they looked ready, but we came with a whole renewed confidence and belief we could turn up, and we turned up. So playing the way we did against the Germans was quite remarkable, and I, for one, I think it will be one of the crowning moments of our memories of this tournament, getting one of the big hoodoos out of the way, beating the Germans fair and square in a tournament game, and it happened at home. So it does more or less healed at the time, healed a few wounds, but at the end you think, okay, we've done that now. We've got pretty much an easy run to the final. You look on the other side, the French were knocked out by the Swiss remarkably on penalties. The Dutch were absolutely were horrible against the Czech Republic. Even I was surprised they played that badly. And obviously people still wonder why Matthijs de Ligt did what he did. But to me, it beats me thinking about it. And there were other decent performances. The Danes crushing Wales.
What did you think about, obviously England's group stage? Because it wasn't very convincing from them. However, they didn't concede a goal throughout. Yeah. So, in a very difficult group, because obviously it started off, and it was Croatia, which a 1-0 victory against Croatia, you're always going to take that. Mm-hmm. And then Scotland versus England, it's the occasion that comes with it. It's
there's nothing you can do about that.
I was in Leicester Square, and I can't remember much of it, but it was absolutely madness. And Scottish fans done themselves proud, because there was no, we weren't there for a fight. We weren't there to destroy the place. You
were there for a good time.
People cleared up the mess the next day. Yes, there's a few broken bottles because, it's going to happen and something like that. But we did clear up our mess. And 90% of the people got COVID, which wasn't great either. I think I was probably the only person that went and didn't get it. But no, I really did enjoy it. It was good to dust off the kilt, which you have seen in previous videos. But yeah, it was the occasion, 0-0. I personally think we should have bet England. I think we had the best chances in the game.Maybe that's me just being biased.
No, I think Scotland put a great account of themselves against England. I think England were probably sticking at the time. Southgate was still probably sticking at the time with the system that worked against the Croatians. And for me, Scotland played a very good game. I think Steve Clarke has drilled that team incredibly well. Yes, and you made the point about the Nations League earlier on. I think your best bet of getting at the World Cup next time around is through the Nations League, because you've played a lot better in that particular campaign than you do regular qualifying for a major tournament. So
I'd fancy myself maybe possibly runner up, because we are the second seed in this group. We probably got the best third seeded team.
Yeah.
It was Austria. We drew against Austria 2-2 in Vienna, which for me is actually a not bad result. It was straight after we just qualified, so I thought we were just going to go out and just not think about this game whatsoever. We got a draw, which is not bad. If we can possibly beat them at Hampden, then I think that'll almost put us in prime position for the playoffs. Denmark, I expected Denmark to be much worse without Christian Eriksen. They absolutely smashed it. That Mikkel Damsgaard stood in and took his place very well.
Such a player as well.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to World Cup next year. Obviously, Ahmed will be there the full way. Fantasy League predictions. You never know. Alexei might be here. Predicting Turkey to win the full thing next time, because he basically backed in the full way.
If they get there first, I think they've got a few wounds to lick.
Battered. But obviously we can move on now. Scotland are out at this point. I was just enjoying the tournament. It was great watching football most days. Most nights it was on as well, which was great. Obviously, as the tournament went on, we could kind of see who the clear, bookies' favourites would be, and it basically came down to England and Italy. And obviously the final was yesterday, Ahmed. I'm surprised he managed to make it on. Alex, he couldn't face it. He couldn't face me.
I know he
Because
probably still
he's been having a go at me because Scotland have been terrible for so long, and we actually managed to win.
I know.
Italy actually managed to win the game on penalties, which was it was just a well fought game throughout. I think both teams deserve to make it 2 penalties. I think it was very equal. I mean, tell me what you thought about the game. Obviously, personally, we'll talk about the red card first because I don't think it should have been a red card. The pull on Saka, I think it was definitely.
No, there were 2 offences actually, which could have been considered as sending offs. One was Jorginho stamping on Grealish, which looks in the Premier League, you probably send him off for that because referees in the Premier League are going to probably be a little bit more offended by these sorts of challenges. They'll think this is another one player endangering another. And for a moment, I thought Grealish was milking that challenge, but it did look clear that Jorginho stamped on him. The other one with Saka being dragged by Chiellini, it's an iconic image now from that game.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I'm not one to push referees to send players off. I think the defender is Chiellini, the attacker is Saka. The attacker wants to get away from the defender. He knows he's going to be quicker than him. He knows he's going to get that extra yard or 2 over him. Chiellini just does the one thing he can do, and that's just stop him from getting away from him. And he'll do that by any means necessary. I honestly think that, people will, put the blame game, not the blame game per se. They'll tag the defender as the villain, but at the end of the day, every team has a defense, and they will do anything possible to stop attackers from getting in. And we're going to go through that a lot next season as United fans. Trust me, we will have to deal with defenses as stubborn as the Italians were last night. So even not just our club, any club, but when it comes to the collective, even when it comes to England, I don't see a reason why you should send somebody off just because you drank their shirt in such a violent manner.
I agree, because I don't think it was very. I wasn't really malicious, and Saka wasn't. He didn't. You're not going to be able to get clotheslined and suffocated if you get your neck pulled in your shirt.
Yeah.
Yes, it's a clear yellow card though. However, I mean, obviously we can move on to penalties quickly before we actually go into the other things in the tournament.
Yeah.
You just made the wrong decisions. I don't think you can even really overthink it, to be honest, because for me, it's your experienced bodies that should come up. Maguire took an absolute great. I mean, I couldn't believe he stood up and took it. He broke a camera in the bill and the goal in general.
I saw afterwards. It was in pieces. It's actually in pieces.
Yeah.
Literal bits of the camera were scattered around the area where he kicked the ball into. So we're talking, I don't know, about 5 or 6 meters away from the top corner of the goal. The camera's got the dangling wires, the lens is dangling, the white plastic bits are all over the place. He smashed it. He proper hit it. It was one of them. It was bizarre, and I didn't think it was possible to destroy a goal, internal goal camera like that. I thought they were a bit more stubborn than that, but no, it turns out he did. So,
Ahmed, what do you think about obviously, the decision to bring on Rashford and Sancho, who are United players? I mean, obviously you know them very well. It's just, I think, don't take off the experienced bodies. Obviously I would have definitely fancied Rashford to take the penalty. I think he's been there, he's done that for United, he's been there and done that for England as well. He's played many games. Sancho, Kyle Saka, why is Sterling and Jack Grealish not taking these penalties? And Jordan Pickford was apparently going to be the 6th penalty taker as well.
He was going to be the 6th.
I just don't really understand the kind of thought process behind it. For me, wrong decision. However, they must have performed in training, but it's so different in a final. It's the biggest game of their lives.
I'm looking at this team, the starting 11 from before the match started, and I can see already, if I was in Southgate's shoes, I would already put Trippier in as a spot kick taker. I would put Declan Rice in as a spot kick taker. I'd put Yeah, those two.
Experienced body. Experienced body.
Sorry?
He's an experienced body.
Yeah,
you know, that's what you need in these moments. You know, Bonucci stepped up, Maguire stepped up, and these guys are just there for the moment. You know, they're not as technically gifted as, let's say, Jadon Sancho. However, they can, you know, they've got the nerve to do it. And you know, everything that came after the game, which we'll move on and quickly talk about just now. I don't want to sit and dwell over it.
No. I'm just looking at the spot kick takers. Like, as you mentioned, it is the shootout we were referring to.
Yeah.
The two players that he brought off, when Trippier and Rice, I thought, if you're gonna take someone off, not because he's played badly, but if you're gonna take someone off to help you in the shootout, I'd have gone with Mason Mount for a start, because you already have playmakers on the pitch in Sterling and Rice and Phillips. You can bring Mount off, put Grealish on in this place, try him in the middle. You also have a penalty taker. And then later on, I would have hooked Kyle Walker, not for who he originally replaced in. I'm just double checking. I'm not making a mess of much of air. I would stick with the Walker sub, but just bring Rashford.
It was Walker and Henderson that came off at the one time, which for me, I'd have kept Jordan Henderson on. Yes, he missed a penalty in the warm-up games.
And at the World Cup last time round, which is probably what is like the nation generally, England as a nation, generally don't consider Henderson as a penalty taker. And it's not because he's not a bad spot kick taker. He's done it for Liverpool before. But it's more to the point that we've still not exactly gotten over the fact that he did miss the shoot in that shootout against Colombia, which put us in jeopardy for a little bit before Mateus Uribe hit the crossbar. Ultimately, I feel that he wouldn't have been the right candidate there and there. I'd have been confident if Declan Rice took a penalty. Because I know he's got that. He is not just confident as a player over a normal time. If West Ham were in a shootout, he would not hesitate to say no. He wouldn't hesitate to take a penalty. He would go up to David Moyes and say, I want a spot kick. Let me take one. He's taken one for West Ham, which tells you something. He's missed one, he scored one. But even still, he's got the confidence to do it. I'd have stuck with him. I would also have stuck with Kieran Trippier, as I said. But at the end of the day, each team took 5 penalties. And the 3 that missed, as harsh as it is, the 3 that missed, I don't blame them. I don't at all. Not only because obviously it's young heads on old shoulders for a couple of them, but one is he's still a boy in my opinion. Not because he's 19 that I consider him to be a boy. It's an incredible talent and a wonderful player. At the end of the day, if you have the ball to take a penalty, it is a complete lottery, in my opinion. And we said this in the Europa League final when we lost to Villarreal, that it's a complete lottery. You don't often see 23 penalties being taken in a shootout. You very rarely do. And the one time it's missed is because the goalkeeper's shot isn't good enough compared to the one the other keeper scored. So these 3 came on. They were brave. They asked the manager, I want a spot kick. I'm going to take one. I don't like this, One thing I admire Roy Keane for, he's outspoken, but I don't like the fact that he's saying that players like Sterling and Grealish rejected the idea of taking penalties. I'm sure they would have liked to, but it's about, at that time, if someone puts their hand up and says, I want to take one, I'll take one. And I put this out on Twitter today. I once played in school matches or school cup ties where 2 times it went to penalties. I went up in one of them and missed my first spot kick. However, it came around again because everyone else had it was still a level. So I came around again and took my next one and missed again. And that one decided the game. I was ridiculed for it by the other school and some of my schoolmates. But at the end of the day, I didn't let it faze me. I know this is going to happen. It does happen. It happens to any player at any level. You miss penalties, you're going to have the horrible sinking feeling afterwards. But I know for sure that Marcus Rashford is a strong character. He's a national hero. I don't think in any way he will be fazed by this. I just hope he goes on holiday, takes his mind off. He will think about tonight and Gdansk. I know that for sure. He'll think about those 2 nights, try and reflect on where he went wrong and improve on it in the future. Sancho, he needs that time off. And I also think he'll get support for tonight because he's done well in Dortmund. He won a cup this season. played a blind over final. But to miss the penalty, it happens to everyone. Stuart Pearce missed one in 99. He got support for it. He got sympathy for it. Bukayo Saka, when Gareth Southgate hugged him after the shootout, I thought there is someone who understands how he feels and can, or not only give him the consolation he needs at the time, but he will. I know for sure he will treat him and show him the respect he deserves, as anyone should, regardless of who you support. Jordan Pickford gets credit for saving 2 penalties, but at the end of the day, I can't suggest much more than the fact that we were not good enough on the night from 12 yards again, and the future is basically looking good. I think we're looking fine for the next World Cup. We're looking fine for the next Euros, but and in fact the Nations League, we can't underestimate that, because I think if England play well in the next Nations League campaign and get into the next Final Four, I still see that as a sign of progression for Southgate. Because if England didn't make it to the last one because of a very difficult group, I mean, not to say that they made it hard for themselves with the performances they put in against Denmark and Belgium, but there are times where I feel they just need to do 1 or 2 things in games that can more or less turn their fortunes for the better. And yes, last night wasn't it, but the first true litmus test for me, obviously, is the World Cup. There's no Nations League between now and then. So they've just got to qualify for Qatar. And then all of that summer, they've got off because the World Cup's in a winter this time. So by the end of this season, these players need to not burn themselves out so that when they start next season, they're fresh, they're fit, they're ready to try again. And hopefully when we get the World Cup underway, it will be England competitive from the off, hopefully playing, at the end of the day, 1-0 is not a good scoreline. No one likes it. But if England win 1-0, as I said at the start of the Euros, I'll take it. I'll take them winning 1-0 as long as it means they do the job and perform well. And look, we're all going to be, we're all going to think we're pundits next day here on this side of the border. We're all going to think we're professional pundits thinking we think this is better for England than what this manager thinks. And we do that with our clubs as well. At any level, we do that with our clubs. Some of us think that we think Solskjaer should do this, or we should think Arteta or Tuchel should do this. Listen, you leave these guys to do what they do because they're the best at it. They're best according to the people who hire them. And I feel Southgate doesn't get the credit he deserves for getting England to the final in the first place. He'll get it when England are successful, but post-tournament, it'll be like everyone goes back into their shells, and it will play on people's minds. I feel, though, these boys should not be too downbeat by last night. I think they can focus on, being national heroes, every single one of them who took a spot kick, including those who played last night. And look, it's Italy get credit. We can't forget that before I move on to other matters. We can't forget that Italy were here because they're unbeaten in incredible 33 matches. That's 3 years unbeaten. 3 years.
Yeah, absolute madness.
They're incredible. So for Mancini, he deserves the credit. Vialli as well. The experience they have, the team that was put out last night embodied the spirit of the side that won the World Cup 15 years ago. And okay, at the start of the tournament, you'd have thought they've got a chance here. I think they're the team you want to be careful of if you meet them. Ace their group, 2 great performances in the knockout phase. The real struggle was against Spain. I think they knew they were not going to have it easy against the Spanish and forced the penalty shootout, knowing if they had opened the game up a bit more, I think Spain would beat them. But yeah, professional performance. And in the end, they won the lottery. So yeah, well done to Italy.
Yeah. That's all we can say. You've rounded it up perfectly. So the next thing that we need to go over, we'll go over it quite fast because we're, trying to work in the 45-minute maximum. We obviously don't want to kind of let it go on for ages, this podcast, because, we've got other things to go into next season. I'm planning on starting the Fantasy League for the Premier League.
Yeah.
We've obviously got United news, Ahmed, which you're doing, and I obviously do the weekend ones with United Link. I was planning on getting a journalist on, which I wouldn't let you guys know at the moment. He was meant to come on yesterday. However, England made it to the final, so we decided just to delay it, so that'll possibly come next week. But Ahmed, I'm just going to, talk about the certain ones. If we have anyone who we think, right, okay, we'll move on, then that's us. So Donnarumma in goals, do we have any complaints about that? He's the winner. Obviously, Pickford had a great tournament as well. However, I just believe, it has to go to Donnarumma after the penalty saves in the final.
Yeah, he had a great tournament, and he probably for me does injustice being goalkeeper and player of the tournament because of the fact he did turn up in the final. He did well in the two, not one but both shootouts. He stopped the two penalties in both shootouts. I feel that alone was going to be the factor in deciding that. So props to him, he deserves it. He really does. Sorry, just quickly, goalkeeper-wise, there weren't many keepers that stood out other than Pickford and Kasper Schmeichel for me. I think those two would be honourable mentions, if anything.
Yeah, and I can't, disagree with that. For me, I would go with Donnarumma. I just don't overthink it too much. If he saved 2 penalties in the final and the penalty shootout, and he saved penalties elsewhere, for Italy to actually make it to the final, it was great. So obviously defenders as well. Luke Shaw. I don't even need to say any more about this. He was fantastic.
Back in the world, mate. We're not even going to debate this.
However, Spinazzola was bloody amazing.
Yeah.
I think if he played in the final, he could probably be in for, a good shout. He was great. I hope he comes back soon. I want to see him in the Champions League. What a player. Great performance. And I hope he returns soon. There's two England players in defence in here. Who's the other guy?
Harry Maguire.
Harry Maguire, of course it is. He was just amazing in the knockout round. In the group stage, he obviously didn't play. However, whenever he was called upon, he was England's best defender. Luke Shaw, he was attacking wise, he was absolutely amazing. However, Maguire, we can't disagree with that. Yes, Luke Shaw had a great tournament, but for me, I would just say Maguire was just an absolute rock, and people need to start respecting him in the league because I think he'll have a great season, especially if who.
We're blessed, Robbie, as Man United fans, to have 2 of the best England players and players in a European tournament in the team of the tournament.
We've actually got 3 in this team. However,
for our defence, we're blessed, very blessed.
Giorgio Chiellini, I think Bonucci's been absolutely robbed here. No, but it could literally go either one of them. They come in twos. Chiellini and Bonucci, they're basically the same person. They're best mates. It could literally go either one of them. For me, Chiellini was the best defender in the tournament altogether. And they're probably one of the best duos we've ever seen in defence. He's just passion, and he's got the football ability to go with it. And I don't know if you can remember the right back that I picked,
Joachim Mailer,
who was going to be, one of my picks for the Fantasy League. He was immense. He was my, one of my defenders for the full tournament, obviously up until they get knocked out. Wow, like for an attacking fullback, him and Spinazzola and Luke Shaw were just amazing. The fact that he's playing on the left, he was cutting on his right foot. I don't think there's anyone who can actually compare to him. I've not seen it for a while, apart from Ashley Young, which was pretty terrible for United.
But he had his uses, but for United, it didn't really suit it.
I feel as if Melee, whenever he was actually on the ball, he looked a threat, which you don't usually get from wing backs, and that's what I felt from Luke Shaw and Spinazzola. So for me, defence, I can't disagree. I think Spinazzola's in for an honourable mention, and Bonucci for me. Simon Kjaer, I know he scored an own goal, but you had to go for that. I think he was sensational throughout as well.
I agree. I think we've got it's a solid defence. If I'm comparing that with most club defences for European football, at least, that's a good defence. You've got decent balance. You've two strong aerial threats in the middle, and speed and technical ability on the wings. I think you've got a good defence there if you're putting up that against the likes of Bayern Munich or Juventus. If you can't really take Chiellini out of Juventus, but no, you've got a good back four there. I think a back five if you're calling it that. So yeah, very good, very good.
So obviously we're going on to midfield three, and we're going to start off with quite a shock because personally I wouldn't have any French players in it. Even though he does play for Man United, Paul Pogba, and he was France's best player, I would say, throughout the tournament. However, they just didn't get far enough. They just didn't get far enough, and I think, Jorginho, Barella, who was fantastic, Calvin Phillips,
Verratti,
Højbjerg, Verratti. Yeah, I mean, there's just so many other players that I'd have put in over there. For me, obviously, I do like Pogba. However, I just don't think he should be there. I don't think he merits his spot. However, I mean, the guy next to him, Granit Xhaka, probably had, it's the best time I've ever seen him play. It's whenever he had that slug, that drink of Coke, he was just, could run about for the next half an hour.
Yeah, absolutely.
And he was amazing against France. Yeah, he was amazing. So I've got no complaints with Granit Xhaka. However, for me, Pogba, I just don't think he can be there because France overall didn't do amazing. He didn't carry them, obviously, because he didn't get far enough. However, the guy who's slightly ahead of him in this formation that I'm looking at just now, and that is Chiesa, who is kind of Mr. Clutch for Italy throughout this tournament. He obviously scored the goal against Austria, which took them through. He scored against who was it? He cut inside on the counter attack. Spain. That was probably one of my goals of the tournament. For me, he was amazing. I don't think we can, disagree with him being in it. And the funny thing about it is, he didn't even start in this tournament. Mancini was subbing him on. It's madness that he can't even manage to start. So, Ahmed, what's your honourable mentions for this one? Then we'll get moving on to the front three.
Ooh, honourable mentions. Tricky, in my opinion. Yeah, I can see why you have reservations about Pogba. I don't know any reason why he shouldn't be in the team. I think it's more just the fact that in the time he was in the tournament, he had a blinding performance. So well in on him. Xhaka, well done to him. He's played well for Switzerland in the competition, and I think he was key for their success in getting to the quarterfinals. So yeah, definitely something to note. Chiesa as well. Since he arrived at Juventus, he's just turned into a great player. Someone to watch, I think, in the next few years. So, yeah, honourable mentions. Yeah, Verratti, Barella, more or less Italians. Locatelli. If we're talking anyone else that stood out in this competition, Højbjerg, as you said, for Denmark, and Pedri, the young player of the tournament from Barcelona. He was brilliant in that for the Spanish. He deserved the final, but ultimately not this time for him. But he'll get more, I feel.
Yeah, and in the front three, to finish off, it was Dolberg, Ronaldo, and Sterling. For me, I think
can't argue that, surely, Robbie. I mean, just based on the tournament, I think Ronaldo deserves it for breaking the record.
Yeah,
and
I think he was still.
Yeah, he's still there.
He actually did carry them. Sterling, who is England's best player, made it to the final. Yeah, he needs to be in there. However, Dolberg, I think possibly Patrick Schick should have been in there over him.
I think so. I think you're right. You might be right with the Dolberg thing. Although we can't discredit him for the fact that he had a pivotal role in Denmark's success in the competition, scoring key goals in the knockout phase leading up to the semi-final. Patrick Schick was probably the best player outside of the team in the tournament for me. He was the best player. Yeah. 5 goals in the competition, and also the fact that he wasn't. It's not that he's a relative unknown, but he played so well. So I feel he should be here instead of Dolberg, but I can see why Dolberg's in the team.
Yeah. Anyway, Ahmed, we'll move on to the fantasy league. Personally, I think I've done not too bad. I had some terrible weeks, like match day 2 was not good at all.
I don't have a look at mine. I don't even know if I want to look at it, to be honest. It's not good on mine.
Match day 3 was amazing for me. 73 points, and I managed to finish off with a whopping 372. I mean, that would be that'd be quite controversial if I actually win the full thing. But big up to RC Navin. Obviously, get in touch. I mean, I put out a post today on the Trafford Talk Twitter. I'm still waiting on the guy to get back to us for the shirt. I mean, I don't know what to say here anymore. I hope he does get back, obviously, because the guy deserves it. Oh my God, he got 87 points in 84. Wow.
Incredible.
I mean, the players that stand out for me was, Melee. I think that's how you pronounce it. I'm still struggling. Whenever I look at it, he didn't do well in the semis. Obviously, the loss. However, before that, he was amazing. 5 points, 12 points here. He got a goal. 8 points. I took him out. I had my limitless on that week. And then so I think he was probably my underdog, the guy who I didn't expect to do too well. And he was in my team for most weeks. Obviously, Raheem Sterling kind of took a vital role in my team as well to get some points. So please get in touch. Please get in touch for your reward. Obviously, we'll work that one out. Ahmed, what's your name?
I promise you, I didn't do very well. Europistas is my team name.
Okay, so that's pretty worrying. I've not seen you so far.
I'm quite low in the table. It's not to say I didn't update my teams. I just don't think I performed as well as I thought I did. So
wow.
You could probably. I'm 96, I think, if I'm not wrong. Yes, 96 is where I finished. To sum up my performances, I started quite badly on match day 1 with 34 points. You'll probably all see it on the screen now. I got decent efforts in match days 2 and 3 with 40 and 40 respectively. We got to the last 16 and I made the adjustments thinking that most of the players that were in the last 16 would qualify, but ultimately didn't go very, very well. Quarterfinals, it didn't go very much better after that. Quarterfinals, it dipped. I forgot to take some of the Portuguese players out, but I got a good 12-point haul with Luke Shaw. And Kyle Walker did well as well. But in the end, I'm quite content with how I played. I do need to improve. Not the best fantasy player. However, I've got 196 points. I finished 96th on the Trafford Talk League. And in Dan, who's a friend of the show, I entered his league as well. I finished 103rd. So, I'm a relative newbie or rookie to these fantasy leagues. I don't play it often, but I think even for that, as long as I didn't come last, I'm happy. So,
I think I'm very happy with what I done. Obviously I got quite high. I mean, I finished 6th in that, and me and my friends, we had a league. I finished top. Dan's I finished 13th, which is not bad either. And globally, I think I finished in the top. Yeah, it was 30,000. I came in that kind of mark.
Bravo!
Over 3.75 million players, so that's quite good. And I finished 120th in Scotland as well. So
that's at least you're in the top 200 in Scotland, so that's something.
Yeah, that's not bad. So I'm happy with that overall. Ahmed, this podcast was meant to be a slightly longer. However, I've got quite a lot to do tonight, and we'll be back soon because I'm wanting to actually go through people's first drafts, try and break them down for the fantasy league. Obviously, keep that up, and maybe I can just bring you on and we can have a chat because there's quite a lot of grey areas behind it as well. A lot of guys and people who watch on don't actually know the ins and outs of it. They don't know the ins and outs of the rules. So possibly that could be quite interesting, making an episode about that.
Yeah, closer to the start of the season, we'll probably look at it a bit more. We obviously need to look at every there's a lot of things that will happen during now and August the 31st. We have to take into account players coming in to the Premier League and also players or all players who move across from one team to another. So there's a lot we've got to cover in that time. We'll probably when we get closer to it, we will. A quick update on other things. This week, another transfer talk bulletin will be coming in from myself. Where I'll obviously keep up on the transfer news and we are. Well, there's been some news today. No spoilers tonight, but there's been some news today, so we'll hopefully be able to update you further when the week comes to its close on that. We're also going to be slowly but surely bringing back match reviews for pre-season because obviously Man United have restarted pre-season, so very soon we'll start doing the post-match reviews for those. In fact, I'm going to the match at QPR, which is in London, obviously. So I'm aiming to be there on the 24th of July, so not long to wait. Hopefully, once the tickets go on sale, they'll get whipped up quickly by me. But I'll probably be doing a live out at the ground review, if you wish, of what happened between QPR and Man United. But yeah, we'll do a lot of those. We'll do a lot of those match previews and stuff like that. And closer, obviously, to the season start, we'll give you a big Premier League preview, something for you to draw your teeth over how we think United are going to do, but also looking at everywhere else in the Premier League. So lots still to come here on Trafford Talk, guys. So I will, for one, would think if you like and subscribe, you'll get more of it. It's wonderful. As long as the window's open, we're always busy.
And Ahmed, obviously there's a room for a possible, we might meet up and go to one of the games together.
Yes. Champions League, guys. Keep listening. We will be at the Champions. I'll be at the Champions League games, that's for sure.
So that would be good.
Not be roped into Europe. That's fine.
Yeah, that would be good though. If we could actually meet up, possibly hold a podcast all together. That would be the first time doing it. I could bring my microphone down. It's not that far down for me either. I'm planning to go to games. I've got my official membership for this year too, so I'm ready to go to a game.
Same here.
Yeah, we'll sort something out, I'm sure. So there's a lot to come this year. Obviously, we'll get in touch. We'll work out what we're doing, and then we'll manage to get the dates out for when the next podcasts are. So don't worry, we're not just sitting doing nothing. I'm working to try and get new people on, new faces involved, and obviously have the veterans like Ahmed, Alexei, and the guys who have always been here. So thanks very much, guys, for watching or listening, whatever it will be on. Please, like and subscribe. Obviously, I'm going to put up a post about your first FPL drafts. Ahmed, you better be doing yours because I want to review yours too.
I'm going to try and think about it over the next few days.
Yeah. So thanks, guys, and we'll see you soon.
Take care, everyone.